store, man.
Nobody calls Han Solo a bitch.
Bring him on. I prefer a straight fight to all this sneaking around.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
Oh, come on, bro. It's the wars.
You know, sometimes it really amazes me how we can get so much Star Wars news out of news that really has nothing to do with Star Wars. This is The Wars and More. I'm Joe, and of course with me is my good buddy Doug. Hey Doug, how you doing this week?
Doing pretty good, Joe. How are you doing?
Not too bad. I can't really complain. So, that is always funny to me.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much going on that has nothing to do with Star Wars, but yet really, really connects with Star Wars.
Right.
It's just kind of amazing.
Well, what are we talking?
I guess one of the first things that is along those lines. So J.J. Abrams, his production company, Bad Robot,
right,
has signed a 5-year exclusive content deal with Warner Media.
Exclusive, huh?
Exclusive. Which means, yeah, Bad Robot isn't doing anything for 5 years that doesn't have something to do with Warner Media.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm kind of intrigued by this. I have possibilities running through my head here.
Yeah, and they all line up with DC.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
that's the first thing that popped in my head.
Yeah.
Was, look, DC's having some struggles continuity-wise.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
And for all of my prejudice and, expected faults coming with something that J.J. Abrams does,
right?
Continuity is not one of them.
Right.
I think J.J. could steer the ship right when it comes to DC properties.
Yeah, me too.
And I mean, it shows like Lost that make me think that.
Yep.
Yep. That just Lost screams like, get that guy to do DC.
Absolutely. I also look back to things like Super 8.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. I mean, I could see those stories existing in the DC universe. I'm also thinking the DC universe, the DC fan base, are not quite so precious with the finer details of things either, which would be right up JJ's alley, right?
Right, but so one thing they've struggled with is while DC is not focused on the finer details, they're not focused on that over the long haul.
Right. Okay.
For the short term, everything lines up.
Yeah. Yeah.
The problem is they've had a problem discerning, what's the short term, what's the long term, can we play with this here? Can we play with that there? And so far the answer's been no.
Right.
You can't do whatever it is you've been thinking.
So how would you look at this? I mean, there's the production company, but wherever JJ goes, Bad Robot is sure to follow, right? So I think that's kind of how that works.
Well, I think this is a situation of wherever Bad Robot goes, JJ's to follow, because I think Bad Robot's the deal here, not J.J. Abrams specifically.
Okay.
So I think with the Bad Robot deal comes some J.J. Abrams involvement.
So you're not looking at this as JJ will be the Kevin Feige of DC.
No.
Okay.
No, and I don't say that like that's their intent here. I'm not saying it won't happen naturally. I think it could absolutely happen in a natural sense.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going, because I think at this point, especially at this point in his career, JJ could be like a really big picture type of guy,
Right.
Doesn't get down in the weeds as much, but has the, 10-mile high view of what he wants to see and can kind of direct from there.
Yeah.
When I say direct, I mean delegate.
I think the big problem for DC right now has been the production difference between everything. The writing obviously is also a problem, but
yeah,
just so you watch Suicide Squad, right?
Yeah.
And then you watch Man of Steel, Justice League, and you look at the difference between these films.
Yeah.
They just don't seem like they don't feel like they're in the same universe.
Agreed.
And I think that's why they decided that they wanted a singular production company to handle everything. I don't know if the same production company was used for any of those things I just mentioned. I don't know that for certain.
Right.
But Bad Robot has a style about him.
Yeah. For sure.
And you're going to notice that from film to film. I think that is the right choice going forward for DC.
So you're talking about a general feel about the environment and the world we're in, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. I buy that.
Because you don't feel like you're in the same world when you watch Suicide Squad as you did when you watched Batman vs. Superman.
Okay.
It just doesn't feel the same. I mean, there's other reasons that is the case.
Right. So for me, I don't know. I would like for if JJ is not going to be the quote unquote Kevin Feige of DC, I would at least like for him to sit down with the 3, 4, 5, 6 people that are going to be working on the DC universe, right?
Right.
And have them say, okay, what are your ideas? And then have him cherry pick their ideas, make his own suggestions, and kind of say, okay, now go out and create. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I think there needs to be that in these big franchise films. I think there needs to be that single point of direction. And I'm not saying directing the movie. I'm saying let's go in this direction. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I mean, we could be jumping the gun a little bit and talking DC.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they're signing him on to do everything but.
Yeah, but
or signing Bad Robot on to do everything but I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, me too.
Because I think Warner Media right now is taking a step back. They're looking at Marvel. They're looking at the success.
Yeah.
And they're saying, what are we doing wrong?
Yeah, because obviously we're doing something wrong.
Because comic books are in. And I mean, you can look at what I don't know who's doing the X-Men series. Was it Sony?
I think maybe.
Okay. You look at the X-Men series and it's a train wreck.
Right.
Compared to other comic book films.
Right.
Just an absolute train wreck, but it's doing better than the DC films.
Yeah.
That's not good. Especially since if you watch the DC films, they're better than the X-Men stuff they're putting out.
Right.
I mean, so what are they doing wrong? Is probably the route they're taking, and it's a synergy thing. The X-Men, look, the new films they're making, they're all the same level of crap.
Right.
So
hey, I mean, hey, don't sugarcoat it, Joe, but
I'm sorry, they suck.
Yeah.
I
gotta
haven't-
be honest.
I
It's been a
haven't
while.
seen the latest one,
Yeah, me neither.
And
or the one before it, or the one before that one.
I've seen those.
For me,
But
Patrick Stewart was Professor X. Let's put it that way.
yeah, that did bother me a little bit.
What's that?
Well, just not seeing him as Professor X in some of these films.
Right.
I understand you're doing a different timeline. I get that.
Uh-huh.
But like, I don't even buy that guy turns into him.
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah. Either way, but like I said, they're looking at what everything in the Marvel universe is doing and how they're not able to achieve that, which they should be able to, because they literally have the most iconic characters in comic book history.
Yeah.
And they're doing nothing with them.
Absolutely. When you had general conversations with anybody, right?
Ever.
You say to someone, right now, name a comic book hero. Batman, Superman. The first two that roll off your tongue.
Yeah.
Every time. I'm sorry, but it was never Iron Man.
Yeah.
But oh my God, did Iron Man crush it, right?
I mean,
hopefully this means good things to come for DC. That's all I'm thinking.
Who ever thought that if you were to name villains from comic books, that the first name that anybody would pick would be Thanos?
Right?
I'm sorry, that is not a world that I remember.
Yeah. I don't know any of it, to be honest, from comic books. All of my exposure to that has been from the movies.
But if you ask people these days, like, name a comic book villain, I almost guarantee everybody will say Thanos.
Are you kidding me? My kids, well, talking about something, and they'll be, oh yeah, and then it's, snap their fingers, right? I mean,
yeah. When I was growing up, all right, if you said name a comic book villain, the first word out of everybody's mouth,
Joker.
Hell
yeah.
Period. Like, there was no other villain
exactly
that popped into people's minds.
Joker.
How can you take a character like Joker and have him not be the creme de la creme of villains?
Right.
So DC in this current media, they haven't done well.
Right.
And part of that is the whole synergy thing. Like, Marvel sat down and they said, okay, we got this plan. We're going to do all of this, and it's all going to line up with everything else we do.
Exactly.
So every movie tied into the next. You've got phases, everything led to the next phase.
Right.
I think DC was just a little complacent. And just like we said, they're like, oh, we got Batman, Superman, we got Joker. Who can touch that?
Exactly. Yeah. This is something.
And they went and made 15 different Batmans and 15 different Jokers and
right. Well, this is something I'm scared of for franchise movies moving forward. I mean, you cannot think, hey, I have got a giant property here. I have name recognition.
Right.
I don't have to worry about the details so much anymore. Right? I don't have to think long game. Well, guess what? You do. I mean,
yeah, Marvel proved that.
Exactly.
Yeah, Marvel proved that in a big way.
A big way, for sure.
So this may be a sign that Warner, at least, maybe not DC, but at least Warner, who has got the film production rights for DC property.
Right.
They know that they have to lock something down and start something consistent.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's a good start as far as I'm concerned.
Because they've had some hits in there.
Oh, yeah.
Wonder Woman was a big hit.
Definitely. And something I would call a sleeper hit would be Aquaman. I know not everybody liked it, but dang. Thought it was pretty darn good.
Yeah, I still got to see that.
I think I was more interested in Aquaman in the story than I was in Justice League. Really, I mean, I would moving forward, I would hope that they could keep both. What's his name?
Who?
Aquaman.
What character? Jason Momoa?
Yes, him and Gal Gadot for the characters moving forward. Because they both did an excellent job.
Oh, yeah. I don't think... I mean, judge me if you will, but I don't think anybody that they've used did a bad job playing their characters.
True.
I mean...
No,
I was actually quite shocked that I enjoyed Ben Affleck's Batman.
Right.
That was a guy that, like, they said Ben Affleck's going to be Batman. I'm like, oh, come on.
Right. I remember.
And then I
saying
saw it,
that.
and I'm like, oh, damn.
Right.
It's actually pretty. You were saying you remember when they announced it, and I told you what the hell?
Exactly. Yes.
What are they doing? They're ruining Batman.
Right. Yeah.
And then I saw it, and I'm like, wow, that really wasn't that bad. It was actually pretty good, in fact. I mean, I could have done without the voice changing tech at times. And then at other times, I'm like, well, I guess I'd rather him have voice changing tech than him try to do that fake ass angry dude.
Yeah.
So I was able to work with that because he looked the part. He played the part well.
Right.
And then not only that, but he really had the advantage of playing with other characters who are doing really well. So he did have that advantage for him.
Right.
Like he was alongside Henry Cavill as Superman.
Right.
Henry Cavill's Superman is fantastic. I don't care what anyone says.
Right on.
I mean, he's not a bad Superman in the least. I mean, he's the best one since Christopher Reeves, that's for sure.
I would agree. Now, what I was referring to, though, is all the talk of, those guys won't be playing those characters moving forward.
Well, yeah, Ben Affleck's out.
Right.
Henry Cavill's still up in the air.
Right.
But all indication is he's out, which would be a mistake.
Well, we can't speak for him, but you got to look at things from his point of view too, right? As an actor, he's probably thinking, look, I got to do what's best for me. The DC universe hasn't been hitting on all cylinders here. So,
yeah, but I've been doing a good job, so I still deserve to get paid.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he's looking for the bigger payday, it's hard to say, but
he should. He's freaking Superman.
Sure.
I mean, can't fault a guy for that.
Well, maybe these are the first steps in trying to rectify that for him, right? To keep him on board, which would be a fabulous thing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the steps we're making to make this better.
Yeah, I mean, you already have to start with a new Batman.
Right.
From everything I've seen, Ben's out, done for good.
That's what I've been hearing as well. So
he's not coming back to Batman.
Right.
So you have to replace Batman. Do you really want to replace Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman? You know, I think you could replace the Flash.
Probably could, but you probably won't need to.
Yeah. I really like the guy they got playing Flash in the TV series.
I knew that's where you were headed with it.
And so they got this other guy, and I'm like, I'm just not feeling it.
Right.
I don't feel the same enthusiasm. It's just not as good to me.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like, well, we talked about this before. I mean, most people would probably agree with me when I say this. DC TV is doing way better than DC Cinema.
I would agree with you. Yeah. So,
I mean, Arrow, yeah, it took a long time to get started. If you haven't watched Arrow, or you started watching Arrow and you gave up, go back.
I gave up.
Go back and I hate saying this about a show, because if you have to say this about a show, normally it's not good.
Right.
Because people told me this about Game of Thrones.
Right.
Oh, you got to push through the first couple seasons.
Right.
Yeah, with Game of Thrones, that was bullcrap. That show sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah.
Sorry to our Game of Thrones fans, but it's just not good.
I have to agree.
And like I said last week, this is my opinion. If you disagree, you can always email us and let me know
That's right.
that you disagree. I am cool with that. It's not your opinion. I'm not forcing my opinion. But Arrow is one of those shows that you have to get through the first couple seasons. And then you watch the middle, and then the last seasons kind of get bad again.
Oh, great.
I'm catching up right now on the previous season.
Uh-huh.
And it's getting better, but it really has some like real eye roller episodes.
Okay.
So, yeah, Arrow's one of those shows. It's got its ups and downs. Unfortunately, its up is right in the middle.
Gotcha.
So you got to deal with downs, up, and then downs again.
Well, I have, I've been thinking about this sort of thing, right? This is one of those things. We mentioned Lost earlier, right, JJ?
Mm-hmm.
Lost around season 3, right? Everyone started asking, okay, where is this show going? And why does it seem like it's going nowhere? And I think
it went nowhere.
Well, so it had a low spot, right? For sure. And a lot of shows seem to do this. Okay.
I get that, Doug, but I'm still going to say that ending was crap.
Okay, whatever. You have to let me make my point though. Is when you have television studio executives saying, "All right, we got a hit. We got to roll with this one." And you have creators saying, "Here's the story arc." And the executives are saying, well, that's only going to give us 4 seasons. Creators like, well, that's what I got. Okay, we need you to stretch out this portion here so we can get 6 seasons out of this show or whatever. Then things become bad, right? Mm-hmm. I think with streaming services, things of that nature, we are going to start seeing story arcs play out the way the creators want them to. And when it's time for something to end, it will end and it'll be over. And I think us as fans are going to benefit from better storytelling.
Right. Lost was 6 seasons, right?
Something like that, yeah.
I can't remember for certain, but I know what you're talking about, like the middle. And I think it was like the beginning of the 3rd season, towards the end of the 3rd season was like just boring.
Yeah.
Like it was like watching Survivor.
Kinda, yeah.
It was less like watching the show that they presented to you and more like watching a reality TV show. It got kind of boring.
Yeah.
But its final seasons and leading up to the end were absolutely gripping. You know, it
Yes.
really grabbed you.
Now I would have pushed back on you unless you said that, because that's where I'm at with Lost. It hooked you back into it, ramping up towards that final episode. The final episode itself was a big what? But leading up to that, the last couple seasons, yes, they drew you in for sure.
Yeah, I would not argue you at all on that. That's my issues with Lost is how it ended.
Yeah.
And the middle. But yeah, the middle got a little cumbersome.
Yes.
And the end was lackluster at best.
Right.
But everything before that and everything, you know, after that middle portion, it was fantastic. Because the beginning of the show was great.
Yeah, absolutely.
They did a really good job of hooking you. As a lot of shows do. I mean, a lot of shows do really good in the first season.
Right.
At least, like, piquing your interest.
And I think it's got a lot to do with the creatives on a show having to cater to executives. Right?
Right.
That's and I think the streaming services that we have nowadays, you know, they're going to allow the creatives to do what they do. Excuse
That
me.
is true.
And because once that show ends, it's still going to be there for people to watch, and it will still draw people to their service, and they will go on to create new shows.
Right.
So,
So I do got to say, buddy.
Yep.
As gripping as all this has been,
I know.
we got to get back to Star Wars a little bit.
Right.
And I guess still the next couple topics, they're Star Wars related, but not.
Exactly.
But we do got to get to them. So Disney, we talked about deals.
Yeah.
We talked about the deal with Bad Robot and Warner Media. Disney signed a 10-year deal with Pinewood.
Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe you don't know the answer to this off the top of your head there. But while Disney's signing this deal with Pinewood, Star Wars was moving to another studio, right?
That I don't know. I mean, we know the Mandalorian is primarily being shot in California.
Right. No, this one was still in Europe,
Okay.
if I remember right. I can't remember the name of the studio. But I thought Star Wars was making a move somewhere else. And while Disney's, signing that deal with Pinewood, just Disney has a whole lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. And
So they're shooting the Marvel stuff there. They're shooting...
they're going to be shooting Indy next year. I don't know if that'll have anything to do with it.
Yep. Pretty sure that'll be at Pinewood. But I thought I saw something about Star Wars moving somewhere else.
Several studio creation or expansion projects are in the works around the UK, including Pinewood itself. It opened 5 new sound stages in 2016. Has planned for the addition of 6 more by next year and is eyeing a further expansion after that.
Maybe I'm talking old news. Maybe Pinewood is responding to that. Hey, look, we can't do everything here, so we're gonna have to move this over there. And they're like, no, we'll make more.
Right. So it sounds like when you look at this, signing a long-term deal like this, might have been a necessity because along in this article it says Netflix announcing a deal to occupy Shepperton Studios. That's when Disney announced a decade-long deal for the use of Pinewood. So, some of these large studios where you're going to be able to make these large production movies starting to become occupied by other, companies, basically.
Yeah.
Got more of them around now than we had.
Yeah, it seems like a good time for someone to open a movie studio somewhere.
Right. Yeah, if you had lots of property and could build a bunch of sound stages, that'd be great.
Yeah, and do like Pinewood did and kind of put it off the beaten path and
exactly.
Make it hideable.
Close off your airspace.
Yep. Yeah, you need to be like Pinewood, where you need top secret clearance in order to even get in there.
Exactly. But it is interesting. It's been traditionally like the place for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Nice to know that Disney has it for, the foreseeable future, 10 years anyway. Obviously, there'll be a lot more things done there other than Star Wars, but...
Well, yeah, because, Pinewood's made a name,
Oh, yeah, totally.
Between Star Wars and the Bond franchise. And
right.
A lot of Marvel stuff's been shot there.
Yep.
So it's the place to go. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good deal. I mean, we've never seen anything bad out of Pinewood, right?
Exactly.
So it's definitely a good place to go work. Guess we'll move on too, because wow, we really chewed up some time with.
Yes, we have.
So Bob Iger is leaving the Apple board to not cause a conflict with the whole streaming thing.
Right. So
with Disney Plus.
Yeah, Apple just announced their streaming service that'll be coming out. And so apparently, I really didn't know, but
either
Bob Iger was on the Apple board. And so with Disney Plus and now Apple streaming service coming out, there could be considered a conflict of interest in, having some sort of say between the two. So, says here, to quote Bob, "It has been an extraordinary privilege to have served on the Apple board for 8 years, and I have the utmost respect for Tim Cook, his team at Apple, and for my fellow board members. Apple is one of the world's most admired companies, known for the quality and integrity of its products and its people, and I am forever grateful to have served as a member of the company's board." Pretty generic statement, but
yeah,
it's.
I think he should have thrown in good at breaking phones with every update, but
yeah. I don't know. I can't say if this is true or not, but I speculate in my own head. So you had Steve Jobs, who helped get Pixar off the ground, and then Disney buys Pixar, and there's Bob Iger, and who knows? I don't know how all that might have played out together, but it seems like there's a circle of
life.
No, intermingling business relationships. You know what I'm saying?
Disney.
Yeah. Well, okay, fine. But it could have something to do with it. I don't know, but it's just, I guess when you're, CEO of one company being on the board of another. This guy's not busy enough, I guess.
Yeah, and well, when one company makes a competing product with another company, it's probably not a bad idea to step away from one of the two.
Right. Well, I mean, those are the situations where it could get sticky for someone in his position, because being the CEO, Disney, with Disney Plus coming out, he could try to influence decisions made at Apple and their streaming service to, not do as well or something.
Right.
I don't know. Or, cash in on both sides. Who knows? I don't. That's why I don't have a CEO job and a board job. So,
well, you mentioned the cash in on both sides thing.
Yeah,
it kind of makes it the admirable thing to do, to say, hey, I need to be fair here. Step down from one.
Right. And let's be honest, he's got a couple years left on his contract. It's hard to say how much longer he'll even be CEO of Disney.
Right.
Because
we thought he was done a few years back.
Exactly. So, we'll see how that plays out in the future.
But he had a choice to make, right? And when all else fails, pick the mouse.
Right. Absolutely. Mouse rules the world.
But I mean, if you have a choice between Disney and anyone else,
for sure,
you pick Disney.
Absolutely.
It's what it is. I mean, it's crazy because Apple's probably the next best thing.
Right.
But I still think you pick Disney.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Have something to add to the conversation? Or you just want to let us know how we're doing? Email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. That's the best place to get in on the action. But if social media is a little more to your liking, @TheWarsAndMore on Twitter is always a good place to interact with us. And we're also on Facebook, facebook.com/TheWarsAndMore. And of course, your portal to this and everything else, The Wars and More, is thewarsandmore.com.
All right, so we've talked about the state of gaming, and Star Wars gaming in particular, but just gaming in general as well. So I gotta say, I'm a little surprised to hear that up to 200 GameStop stores are going to close by the end of the year.
Wow.
With video gaming being as popular as it is right now, that's shocking to me.
Yeah, I agree. I like GameStop because, for me, I'm not the type of gamer that has to be there, opening night to get the game when it comes out. So therefore, when those people are done with these games and they trade them in, I'm the guy who comes in and buys them. So, that's kind of shocking to hear and kind of a bummer. So,
well, at the same time, I am one of those gamers that likes to be there opening night.
Right.
Okay. But Doug, maybe we're just getting old.
Oh, we're getting old.
Just,
I'm getting older than you. How's that?
Because there are several times that I have been outside my local GameStop at midnight, going in to pick up Halo.
Uh-huh.
And getting ready to go home and play it. So I like that experience. It's the same kind of experience I get going to Star Wars Celebration.
Right.
It's the same kind of experience I got when I stood in line to see episode 2, when I stood in line to see episode 3.
Right. I get it.
Yeah. It's that life experience you get being the first to do something.
Right.
And I guess it's not so much that, that I take away from it every time. Because every time I do this, I meet new people.
Right.
I talk to new people. And we're there for a similar cause.
Yes. It's a community experience.
It's an experience. And the shop owners, or the employees rather, everyone involved ends up having a good time with these releases. And I mentioned this when we talked about my experience with The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi and how it was kind of lackluster.
Right.
Because I went and tried to do that either early morning thing or the midnight thing.
Right. Yep.
And it just wasn't the same. It's not the same as it was.
Yep. I have to agree with you.
I understand technology's changed. And yeah, you can download it at home and, play it at midnight instead of, at midnight you're either just getting in the store or driving home. I understand that.
Yeah.
It's convenient.
Yeah.
But something about getting out there, standing in line, being amongst other fans.
Right.
Just, I don't know how you can pass that up.
I know exactly what you're talking about, especially in terms of the film releases, right? When you can get on your phone, select which seats you want to sit in now, and reserve them for a showing of a film, there's no need to stand in line. Oh, well, this showing's full. I guess I'll get into the next one, right?
Right.
All that's gone. It's kind of the same thing with what you're talking about with the games. Yeah, and that's a completely different experience too. You're talking about downloading. Man, I'm from the generation where you're excited to get this cartridge. You get home, you tear it open, you plop the cartridge in, flip on the machine, and and you
can play the damn game.
Now you put in a disc, and you have to download 3 hours worth of updates before you can play. Oh my God, right? But I digress.
Okay. You digress, but I'm a PC gamer too.
Sure.
Okay. On PC, I've always had to install my games.
Yes.
Okay. I've never been able to just put it in and play.
Right.
I've had to wait for it to install.
Right.
I've installed some games that have way better graphics than some of the stuff nowadays.
Uh-huh.
And it took less time.
Gotcha.
Now I put it in, it's like, the game in total is, let's just say it's 40 gigs.
Right.
Right? So you put the disc in, and it's downloading 40 gigs. The disc is literally there to give you your code to say you own this game.
Your authentication code. Right. Exactly. The thing that always killed me is you hear, yeah, I got the game day one when it was released, got home, put it in, had to install updates. Updates?
Yeah.
Day one? Oh my God.
So
I don't know.
Now, while that is a problem, okay,
yeah,
the whole update thing and all that, being someone who's purchased both digital content and physical content, I still prefer physical content.
Absolutely.
Because I have been in a situation where I'm trying to play a single player game.
Right.
Okay. This game has nothing to do with online, but I bought it digitally. The authentication servers were down, so I couldn't play my damn game.
Right. This is a problem. Absolutely.
I can put in a physical disc. The authentication is done locally on my machine.
Right.
Via the disc.
Yep.
Therefore, I can still play it.
So, I guess we're looking at two different issues here, right?
Yeah.
The whole digital download versus physical copy, and the interaction with other
People.
fans. Yeah, at a release, title release, and it looks like there's going to be 200 less places in order to do that now because of these downloadable digital copies, I assume. Yes?
Well, yeah. So here's a fun little experience that I had at the last celebration that kind of puts this in perspective a little bit.
Okay.
It's kind of unrelated, but it's still related in my eyes. Okay. So at Celebration Chicago, me and Kat were standing in line.
Okay.
And we turned and we looked at someone, and this person looked familiar. Turns out that we talked to this woman in Orlando at the previous celebration.
Right, yeah.
So at Celebration Chicago, we met up with someone who we talked to for an hour in line in Orlando.
That's awesome.
So you get this one, it brings that, we talk about being a Star Wars family all the time.
Yeah.
It brought that right into it. We just ran into someone that we met 2 years ago in another city.
Right.
How many miles away?
Yeah, 1,000.
Yeah, 1,000. So I've done these releases at GameStop. This is where it all comes together. And I've seen some of the same people.
Right.
I don't know these people. I don't talk to them ever.
Right. But
except for the 2 times that we were at Halo releases or at a Call of Duty release.
Right.
And each time it's almost like family.
Yeah.
You kind of develop a release night family.
Makes total sense. I mean,
and some of these people I talk to them and I realize they're not very social people,
Right.
They're not people that really go out looking for human interaction.
Right.
But when they can find these things like a pre-release event at GameStop, they feel more comfortable because they're going out there and they're interacting with people who have a like mind.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not the sort of thing that I guess you could say that the general public is always on top of, right? I mean,
yeah.
If you're there for an opening night release of a Halo or a Call of Duty or something, it's going to take you getting to a place where everyone else there is there for the same reason, and you have something to talk about, in order for these type of people to open up, right? I mean,
yeah,
a lot of times. And so I guess what you're saying is this sort of thing is going to be going away for them.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're Star Wars fans.
Right. Yeah. We understand the whole, general public
and
not understanding us, right?
Pardon the words, but we understand the whole nerd/geek community.
Absolutely.
Okay? All right, and a lot of us, I'm kind of an exception to the rule here. I'm a very social person.
Sure.
Well, actually, so we've got 2 examples here. You're not
right. I'm very
as
much
social as me.
Right.
Okay, you're more of a closed off person, but you will connect with people over Star Wars.
Yes.
And you will go to a 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever Star Wars release, and end up talking to people in line because you're there for the same damn thing.
Right.
And I play Magic the Gathering. I go to shops, I play Magic the Gathering. There are tons of people that show up and play Magic that wouldn't be interacting with people if it wasn't for Magic.
Right.
Okay. They would sit at home closed off. If it wasn't for Magic the Gathering, they wouldn't go out and have that face-to-face interaction with people. But you have this this entity that draws everyone to the same place, like magic, like Star Wars, like video games. Okay, it draws us to the same place. You end up with a social interaction. People feel included in something.
Right.
Feel part of something. That's special in its own right.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you've never done anything but buy your games on Amazon or, buy digital release on PlayStation 4 or Xbox, I really, really encourage you to get out, go to one of these pre-release nights, interact with people, realize how much damn fun it is, and maybe start just. And I would be less supportive because GameStop's a big corporation,
Yeah,
right. And they do a lot of stuff that really pisses me off.
Right.
But I am supportive of them for this aspect.
Yeah, I get it.
They really do a good job of bringing communities together. I even have a friend on Xbox Live because of this.
Cool.
I literally know this person for no other reason than we met at a GameStop pre-release. We exchanged gamer tags, and we've been playing together for the last 10 years.
Right on.
So there are good things that come from this.
Right.
Maybe start thinking about some digital copies every once in a while. That's just all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean,
physical
copies, right? In the name of convenience, we're losing this actual human interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get it. I think this calls for one thing, Joe.
What's that?
We need to resurrect these LAN parties.
Dude, LAN parties were amazing.
I know. But again, there you're getting people into the same space, right?
Yeah, Blizzard, right?
Yeah.
Does World of Warcraft and Diablo, things like that.
Right.
They have a online card game called Hearthstone.
Okay.
And they encourage this portion of their game called a fireside gathering.
Okay.
Which you would go into your local game store that would host like Magic the Gathering normally or something like that.
Yep.
Take your tablet, take your laptop, whatever. But you go in and you do these LAN parties and meet people, and you get bonus content online.
Oh, cool.
So I like that. It's a free online game, so you'll never end up in a store because of Hearthstone.
Right.
Right? But they encourage this to get bonus content. Go down to your local store that's hosting a fireside gathering and get some free stuff and meet some people.
Right.
We can't let the digital world take away our interactions.
Agreed.
And that's one thing that we are noticing more in Star Wars in the fandom lately is because you see these online interactions.
Yeah.
People are not interacting like they actually are looking at someone face to face.
No.
And they're not interacting like they'll ever see that person face to face.
Exactly. They're counting on that.
Yeah. And I think that is kind of a little bit of a side effect of the modern technology.
Yeah. Maybe convenient, but you need to look at what you're giving up for it, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, my favorite Star Wars memories are interacting with people at conventions, at midnight releases for films.
Yep.
My first midnight release Star Wars experience was episode 2. I still remember the people I talked to that night.
Yeah.
They will never leave my mind.
Exactly.
So yeah. While GameStop, like I said, does a lot of things that make me mad, they still do a lot of things that are good for, one, humanity, us as people,
right?
interaction, and two, if you've ever had an authentication error for a digital game, you don't have that when you have a disc, man. I'm just saying.
Yep. Just let me slap that cartridge in the machine and turn it on. That's what I say.
Yeah. Super Mario Brothers for life.
Heck yeah.
All right. So, Jon Favreau. Now, well, he says a lot of things that I really like.
Right.
I'm not so sure about his latest comment about making a holiday special for Disney Plus.
What are you talking about?
Oh man, did you watch the last one?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for here.
It can't be worse. It's bound to be better than that.
That's true. That's true.
I think I got a feeling this could be something with just the right amount of campiness and probably end up being hilarious. Because knowing Jon Favreau, it would be something to pay homage to what came before and be updated in just enough Star Wars style seriousness to it to be interesting. So, I mean,
yeah. Well, judging by his comments, he goes, "Oh, I like the Boba Fett stuff, the animated stuff."
Right.
So, if he does it, I would anticipate the same kind of thing. You get some live action, you get some animated.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, the first one was so bad, man. I don't know if I can support another one.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I would watch it. There ain't no doubt. So I guess, in that sense, he's a genius.
Well, I'll tell you what. There's a certain amount of people who would watch it for nostalgic reasons, right? Let's see what they've done to update whatever. I mean, there's a certain number of people who watch the holiday special every holiday season still. So, I can't say that I do it every holiday season, but every third or so, I'll pop it in. It's
well, I say grown up lumpy or we boycott.
Haha, I love it. I don't know. I think it would be, if nothing else, just fun. So, and
yeah, now that you put it that way, maybe that's what we need.
Right. We're always taking Star Wars super seriously, right?
Yeah,
as a fan
sometimes
base.
way too seriously.
Sometimes we just need to sit back and have a little chuckle, right?
Yeah, maybe that's exactly what we need. We need another holiday special to remind us.
Yeah.
That, hey, not everything Star Wars is supposed to be super serious and not have comic book guy in the background screaming, "Well, that's not canon."
Right. It clearly shows between issue 75 and issue 77. This is not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, you know what? I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You convinced me, Doug.
Well, good. I'm glad because, again, it would just be something fun to do. I mean, it sounds to me like this would be kind of like a little pet project of his, you know, and they've got so many of the assets there to put something together, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the quality would be better, you know, up to date. Who knows? Maybe we'll get to see what Life Day was like at the instead of under the Empire, under the Republic.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, you know, once you put it that way, I'm just like, look, this was before Empire.
Yeah.
You know, and it was a just campy, you know,
Well,
musical at times.
it was
Like,
it was honestly, it was thrown together, right? They were just
Yeah.
trying to keep the hype up for Star Wars, okay, number one, and capitalize on the popularity of Star Wars for the network. So now I think, you know, neither of those things are factors, right?
right.
Hype is up for Star Wars, has been for years now, right? And you know, you don't have to satisfy or a network isn't there trying to just like, you know, we can fill a Sunday night time slot, right? With something that we know is popular. Now you could actually have a fun, dare I even say it, canon story that could just, you know, fit in and be a little funny. Nothing that's going to have any real
Implications.
yeah, implications into the canon, but you know, it's there, right? Just a good time.
Yeah, at times I think we need to be reminded of that. You know, we look at everything that has happened in Star Wars over the years, and some people get so angry when
Right.
something doesn't line up.
Yeah.
And it's like, George did the holiday special.
He
Literally
signed off
in the
on it.
beginning. So George always saw this as something fun.
Right.
So yeah, maybe we need to be reminded that we need to take things a little less serious sometimes.
Absolutely.
And maybe it's something that every fan, no matter if you're OT or sequel trilogy or prequel trilogy or Reylo, we need something that every fan can get behind. If only to laugh a little.
Right.
Yeah. I'm with it. Jon Favreau for the Disney Star Wars holiday special.
Love it.
I'm with it. Let's have a damn good time.
Right.
All right. So, the Mandalorian cast. Well, they were asked what was their favorite Star Wars movie.
Yes, they were. This was kind of an interesting deal too, because I think we got some of the primaries here, and despite everything we just said, it was kind of interesting what they had to say about their favorite Star Wars movie. But Pedro Pascal, just in case you're not aware, he'll be playing the Mandalorian in the upcoming series. Says, I don't have a choice because I was born in 1975. I remember Star Wars, but The Empire Strikes Back made me. That was where I understood what cool was in the form of Harrison Ford playing Han Solo.
Yeah.
I saw Sister break down in remove her from the theater kind of tears when they froze him. Just the kind of Shakespearean finale of the whole thing, or Greek tragedy of it. So that definitely shaped my imagination more than any of the other ones.
Well, damn, dude, you could have just said you liked Empire.
Yeah, I was going to say, he said that quite eloquently.
No, I appreciate that, though.
Totally.
He gets it.
Yeah, for sure.
He gets the story. He gets why it was done that way. Yeah, George always had a deeper meaning to everything with everything he did.
Right.
Yeah. He says Shakespearean, Greek tragedy. All those things were in mind when George was creating Empire.
Right.
So, yeah.
So,
I dig it.
Go on. We hear from Gina Carano, who plays Cara Dune. I loved what she had to say here. Because many times I think this falls to the wayside more than it should. So, but her favorite is Return of the Jedi. One of my favorite relationships is Princess Leia and Han Solo, because they're so at each other, and then they come together. She says, I'm a fighter, but I'm a sucker for love and romance. It's so true with that movie too. It's
oh yeah. Oh, you could tell Luke? That's who you could tell?
Exactly. Yeah. He's my brother. And the look on Han's face right there is
like,
the best.
Oh damn. I'm an ass.
Uh-huh. Then he gets a smile like, I'm in. Yeah. But I do think that Return of the Jedi of the OT gets, falls to the wayside sometimes because,
underrated.
Everybody loves Empire, right? And then if it's not Empire, it's A New Hope because it was the first. So,
right.
But I got to say, for me, as a kid, as a matter of circumstance or whatever, my family got cable right at the right time for when Jedi was being run all the time on cable. I got to sit down and watch that one at home on the TV the most. So, it kind of holds a special place for me because of that reason. And, it's just a good movie.
So for me, I probably saw Empire the most as a kid. Availability reasons. My dad had the, all the VHSs.
Right.
And my dad's favorite was Empire.
Right.
He would always put Empire in. Look, my dad would put movies in just for background noise.
Sure.
And so I saw Empire probably more than anything, but the one that would grab me and pull me in most times was Return of the Jedi. And as a kid, I think it's more because you got the speeder bike chase. It's fast paced.
For sure.
That grabs a kid. You got the Ewoks. You got all these things that grab a kid.
Right.
In Return of the Jedi. So Return of the Jedi as a kid for me, it stood out more than Empire. Empire I appreciate more as an adult because I get all the subtleties.
Yes.
You know, they lost.
Right.
As a kid, that was lost on me. I didn't get that. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand the rebellion just lost a big battle.
Well, I have to say, it's funny you say that. So, Taika Waititi, who's going to be playing IG-11 and also directing in The Mandalorian, he says, everybody probably says this, but Empire Strikes Back. The stakes are so high, and there's love, and there's heartbreak, and there's loss. And at the end, the bad guy basically wins. It blew me away and changed my whole outlook on what sci-fi or fantasy film could be. Up until that time, pretty much everything was camp and ridiculous. I did not want Han Solo to be frozen. Also, I was so young, I thought he was dead. I thought they killed him and turned him into a sculpture. I didn't understand the word hibernation. It was so shocking to me. So,
I would agree with that as a kid.
yeah.
When I first saw Empire, I didn't understand that Han didn't die.
Right.
You know, it didn't click that, oh, he's in perfect hibernation. That didn't mean he was alive.
Right.
You know, as a kid, I thought he was dead. They just created him into a coffee table, you know?
Right. Wall sculpture.
Yeah. So, I get that about that, but like I said, as a kid, Return of the Jedi still grabbed me more.
Oh, heck yeah. So we have one more, and this is from Giancarlo Esposito, who plays Moff Gideon. He says, I really like A New Hope. That's the one that got me. That's the one that stirred me up the most. The Mandalorian does have that feeling of anything could happen. Interesting. So I like what I'm hearing about the Mandalorian, right?
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's got that, I don't know. It's got kind of an OT vibe to it from what I'm hearing. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a win.
Yeah.
So, and then also, I guess to put it another way, they asked these actors what their favorite Star Wars movie was, and that was definitely OT for the win.
Yeah.
So, but very cool. I love that. I love that they go back to the origins, basically, and they're drawing from that, and you know, from everything we've seen so far, you know, Mandalorian's looking pretty darn good.
Yeah, it's still got my attention more than anything else.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, they've done a good enough job with marketing there that it's what I'm looking forward to most in Star Wars right now.
Yeah.
I mean, while The Rise of Skywalker looks good, it just doesn't grab me like The Mandalorian does.
I think there's two factors to that. One is we're going to see The Mandalorian first. So
Yeah.
we're anticipating that showing up first, right? Which it will. And secondly, fandom as a whole, I would say, has certain expectations out of episode 9. And we're all walking in there, whether we want to admit it or not, with the attitude of, okay, this movie better do X, Y, and Z, right? Whereas The Mandalorian, anything goes, right?
Yeah, it's a clean slate.
We don't know anything about anything, and it's kind of refreshing.
Yeah.
So I think that plays into it as well.
You know, it's funny because we look at The Mandalorian and I say this phrase reluctantly, but we're almost looking at The Mandalorian like the sequel trilogy hasn't even happened yet.
Right.
Which, time period wise, makes sense.
Yes.
So, yeah, I guess that's just good marketing. Like,
right.
If you're going to treat it like that other stuff hasn't happened yet, then you're golden because it hasn't in the timeline.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Mandalorian is definitely first and foremost for me. I mean, not saying I'm not excited for The Rise of Skywalker. I am.
Right, for sure. Totally.
It's going to answer a lot of questions. And boy, do we have questions.
Exactly. But that's what we're expecting to see out of it.
Right.
You know, and there are those of us who, you know, if these questions aren't answered the way we want them to be answered, that's going to be a problem for us.
Right.
You know, it's like I said, there is a certain amount of baggage we're taking in with that movie, taking in with us when we go to see that movie. Mandalorian, it is a clean slate.
Yeah, there's no baggage.
We have no expectations. We're just along for the ride. So,
yeah, even though it's taking place in between the timeline, you're following characters you don't know.
Yep.
You know, it's got a clean slate. It can do whatever it wants at this point.
Exactly.
And yeah, that makes it pretty appealing. Kind of like Rogue One did.
Right.
You know, Rogue One had this like, okay, yeah, it's in this timeline. You expect this to be coming from the end, but at the same time, you don't have any information on how they did any of this.
Right.
So it's really wide open.
Yeah.
Amazing how something that is dead smack in the middle of something has dire consequences for the future.
Right.
But yet feels so fresh.
Exactly.
And The Mandalorian is kind of playing off that same kind of mentality.
Yep. I got a feeling we're gonna come out feeling similar with The Mandalorian as we did with Rogue One. Because I would have to say Rogue One is definitely the most beloved anthology film of Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. That's without a doubt.
Yeah.
And most would put it above the sequel trilogy films.
Yeah, a lot of people would.
So, yeah, if it's anything like Rogue One, oh, we're in for a treat.
Yeah, right.
But all right. Well, if you have anything to add, you can always email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. It's the best way to get a hold of us. But we're also on social media. We're at The Wars and More on Twitter, facebook.com/thewarsandmore. And you can find all that and all the ways to find the show over at thewarsandmore.com. Any final thoughts this week, Doug?
No, I think that about covers it.
All right. We will talk next week.